Culture is the social norm and behavior found and practiced in human societies. It is considered a central concept of anthropology, transmitted through social learning. A more better understanding is a way of life for people, meaning the ways they do things in their own manner or practices. It defines the characteristics of a group of people through language, movement, arts, songs, music, events, appearance, and unity. Culture is passed on from generations to generations, practiced by our ancestors. We learn from our elders as we pass on to our children. Elder people or older adults are the ones keeping our cultures and traditions in place. They have better understanding and teaching from experience and learning from their parents and their parents before. The reason why we should rely on elderly to preserve culture is that they understand the norms of culture. Culture is very valuable to a group of people to hold peace and harmony together, to identify their group, and to keep their race and generations in the far future. Culture defines peace and harmony for a group of people. It acts as respecting one another within and outside the society. For instance, in Pompeian culture, respect is an act of peace and harmony. Elderly teaches youthful groups and generations the aspects of being respectful. Being respectful is an easy word to say but hard to follow. Identity is one aspect that elderly value the most. It shows the pride and achievements in a given society or family. In regards to keeping our culture, this is one thing why elderly value identity in is understanding the way of life. Our acts and doings reflect ourselves as we carry on our culture. Identity refers to a nation, a group, a society, or a family's nationality, ethnicity, religion, class, generations, or any distinct culture. Carrying a last name is one aspect as we tell the stories of our elderly. It is a way to educate our children to have a better understanding and prideful feeling to be blessed. Culture should be passed on from generations to generations. It is important for an elderly to make sure his or her family follows, practice, and live their culture in the future. It is an acknowledgement when people gather together living by their culture. In Pohnpei and in most areas, elderly make sure that the respect they know runs in their family and should be shown in any particular group of a family or society. Our culture is fading away because of modern society, but only our elders know and practice our culture every day. This is why the youthful generation should rely on the elderly to understand and practice culture. Micronesia, for example, is composed of a variety of islands with strong variety of cultures. These cultures define the meaning and build of each island and their people. Pohnpei, for instance, is deeply known for their Sakao culture and respect. Same goes to the rest of the islands in Micronesia, including Guam. I am parting my example on Pohnpei because it is easy for me to express. Every island in Micronesia has their ways. Personally, what I believe we preserve our culture is because of our beliefs. Our beliefs are practiced and was continued from generation to generation because it is what our ancestors believed and what we came to believe. Jumping into the modern world, this era has its own culture. The modern life we are living in now has its own culture. In some places, people probably have their own cultures but also living by the modern culture. How? Businesses, careers, clothing, technology. Some children are born in this modern world, growing up with these aspects as part of their culture. I can tell because some of my friends here on Guam does not know their own Chamorro language. I am not stating that the modern culture is bad, but I am stating how others are born in it, not knowing the history of their family background. If I am not mistaken, the new generation may possibly think that culture and traditions are things of the past. Everyone has that concept of thinking, oh, they lost their culture. They did not lose it, they were just born into a different culture. That is why it is up to the parents or our elders to pass down the culture for the next generation or not. It all depends on them. Some may choose not to because they are living well in the present culture. Our culture is not dying or it's not lost. It's just changing and it all depends on us to keep it. Speaking of modern world, I want to touch base on the American culture. I was watching a movie this past week and this movie is called All American. It was inspired by a true story. Now, not only Micronesia has value for culture, but it is spread all around the world. This movie I watched really triggered my thoughts on my Pohnpeian culture. How we given respect and earning loyalty. The main thing is respect. In this movie I watched, it was all about caught up in gangs, thugs, and living in the ghetto life. Now here's what triggered me. Every single black people have culture. Their culture is respect and loyalty. It made me wonder, why is that in every movie there is this bond between black people from the streets? Homie, dog, and excuse me for saying this, like nigger. All these slang words are meant for something for black people. Now the interesting thing is that only few has the right to say these slang names to black people. They have their own culture of respecting one another and respecting one's loyalty. Just like how Micronesians, Melanesians, Polynesians, Asians, etc., how everyone does. It defines the unity and strength of the people. It defines their identity. It defines the way they live, how they grow, where have they been through. Everything is the same. I, for one, strongly encourage our culture to be preserved. Without our culture, we don't have respect, loyalty, identity, family, our homes, and mostly, we won't have a meaning of where we come from. The beauty of the world lies in the diversity of its people. Cultural differences should not separate us from each other, but rather cultural diversity brings a collective strength that can benefit of all humanity.